to SVG-TV's news for Wednesday, May 28, 2025. I'm Triska Campbell with the details. Regional and international cybersecurity experts are currently in St. Vincent and the Grenadines for consultations with local stakeholders aimed at developing a comprehensive regional cybersecurity policy. The initiative is part of the Caribbean Digital Transformation Project, CARDIP, which is spearheading efforts to strengthen digital infrastructure and security across the Eastern Caribbean. As part of a mission, the Cybersecurity Policy Development Workshop was held today at the French's House in Kingstown. SVG is one of 4 organizations of the Eastern Caribbean states, the OECS countries, selected for the formulation of a regional cybersecurity framework. The other participating nations include Grenada, St. Lucia, and Dominica. Winston George, project coordinator of CARDIP SVG, emphasized that the policy will address critical areas including cybersecurity, data protection, and privacy.
Under the technical leadership of the Caribbean Community Implementing Agency for Crime and Security Impacts, this particular subcomponent aims to build trust in online transactions and strengthen the security and resilience of digital infrastructure and systems. And part of that process is to promote awareness and capacity building and create an enabling environment and institutions needed to protect the public and private sectors from cyber vulnerabilities.
Dale Joseph, cyber police specialist from CARICOM Impacts Implementation Agency for Crime and Security, highlighted the rising threat of cybercrime in the Caribbean, pointing to increased phishing, ransomware, and data breaches targeting both individuals and institutions.
The CARICOM Cybersecurity and Cybercrime Action Plan of 2016. This action plan was signed off by heads of government, and it's really the roadmap to advance cyber resiliency within the Caribbean. That action plan currently has 5 priority areas, which speaks to public sensitization, legal harmonization, standards for critical infrastructure, regional and international cooperation, and also building sustainable capacity throughout the Caribbean.
On the 22nd, on their spiritual Baptist Day. So that that too is one of the activities to which the month of March
being led by NRD Cybersecurity, a Lithuania-based firm with global experience in cybersecurity governance. The firm is spearheading the initiative as part of the broader program supported by US $94 million loan secured through the World Bank. Dr. Taras Jakatas, team lead for NRD Cybersecurity, stressed the importance of grounding the policy in local context.
Bringing you together in this environment because what we really seek in this mission is to collect information, to collect as much information as we can on the assessing of St. Vincent's and Grenadines cybersecurity foundation, the landscape, assessing what are the major threats, what are the major challenges that you face as a country when it comes to cybersecurity. And then based on that information, collected information, we will be able to tailor it to hopefully to the needs and the priorities of your country. So it is a very important mission for us. This is information collection, also called stock-taking mission, where we would like to collect and assess as much information as we can.
Additional consultations are scheduled to take place in the coming months. Organizers hope to finalize and begin implementation of the regional cybersecurity policy by next year. The cybersecurity framework aims to protect critical digital infrastructure, strengthen institutional capacity, improve incident response mechanisms, promote awareness and education on digital safety. As digital transformation accelerates across the Caribbean, initiatives like these are seen as essential to safeguarding citizens, businesses, and governments from evolving cyber threats. Unemployment in St. Vincent and the Grenadines has reportedly declined to below 10%, and that's according to Minister of Finance Camilla Gonsalves. The minister made the announcement while addressing a range of national issues on WFM's Issues at Hand program on Sunday. Minister Gonsalves pointed to data from the National Insurance Services, the NIS, suggesting that the increase in employment registrations reflects a continued decline in the national unemployment rate.
The labor force is defined to include some people who are still of school age. So when you take into account now people who are in training programs, people who are still in tertiary education and all the rest of it, and you factor those in, the people who are taking a gap year between college and between finishing college and going off to university, people who just had a child and they're not ready to go back to work yet because they had the child 3 months ago and they're not ready to rejoin the workforce and all the rest of it. When you factor all of those in, and we have that data, I would say that we have single digits, high single digits of people of unemployment in this country, and I would say that you probably have another low single digit number of people who could work but don't want to work.
He also noted that the country is currently experiencing a labor shortage, which further supports the claim that more Vincentians are now employed.
And that is why we're investing tremendously in creating more and more job opportunities in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which creates opportunities for upward mobility. If you don't have those opportunities for upward mobility, people get stuck in low-level jobs or jobs that they think are not befitting their skill set. The other part of the equation there is education. We have more people now. First point, there are more people employed in St. Vincent and the Grenadines today than at any point in the history of St. Vincent and the Grenadines since slavery. The second point is we have more people educated with tertiary degrees in St. Vincent and the Grenadines today than at any other point in the history of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And we are now, as a state and as a private sector, creating more high-level jobs in St. Vincent and the Grenadines than have ever been created in St. Vincent and the Grenadines before. So when you get that, two things: upward mobility, the options for upward mobility, and the options for lateral mobility, so that you can leave this job and get another job somewhere else. Then you start to create the sort of movements in the labor force that can deal with the issue of underemployment.
The government has credited ongoing public and private sector initiatives, economic recovery following the COVID-19 pandemic, and post-volcano reconstruction projects as contributing factors to the improving employment landscape. Meanwhile, opposition Member of Parliament for East Kingstown, Dwight Fitzgerald Bramble, is disputing recent statements made by Finance Minister Camilla Gonsalves regarding the country's unemployment rate. Minister Gonsalves had stated that unemployment in St. Vincent and the Grenadines has declined to below 10%. However, MP Bramble, who is also an economist, contends that the figures shared by the minister do not reflect the economic reality.
Your labor force. The labor force essentially consists of people who are working or people who want to work and they're looking for work. Yeah? Now, he used the National Insurance Service data to give us as a proxy, because there's really no hard facts, there's really no credible evidence to support what he's saying. So he said that the National Insurance Service says that we have 60,000 people in our labor force and 45,000 are working, right? But yet he comes back and he says that our unemployment rate is close to single digits. Now, if you're using the NIS data as a proxy, if you tell me we have 60,000 people in our workforce and only 45,000 are working, it means 15,000 are not working. 15,000 out of 60,000 is 25%. So based on what he's saying, our unemployment rate right now is around 25%. Now, if you also look at the situation with our labor force, people who are not looking for work, if you're not looking for work within a 3-month period, you fall out of the labor force. So that those persons are not even counted in the unemployment figures. Yeah? Now, if you have a situation where you have some people in the labor force who are looking for work and they're not working, but you have another set of people who are not even looking for work, for whatever reason, they gave up, it means that the number of people not working in St. Vincent and the Grenadines is even higher than what the official figures attempt to tell us.
The MP is calling on the minister to retract his statements, describing them as misleading, and further questioned the credibility of the reported labor shortage. Bramble is also demanding that the finance minister disclose the source of his data, particularly the figures referenced from the National Insurance Services, the NIS, which were used to support the claim of lower unemployment.
He said he has the data. Well, present the data and tell us your source of information. Was there a labor force survey done recently? Who did the survey? What methodology was used? So that we can be assured that the information is credible and reliable. And the minister has not been able to do that. You cannot, when you're dealing with a situation like unemployment in our country or in any economy, you cannot use anecdotal evidence. You cannot make innuendos. You have to have the data, the facts to support what you're saying. And that is the main problem that I have with the minister. Now, he went on to say as well that there are contractors in this country who are complaining that they can't find workers. And I found that to be very, very hard to believe. Because if they can't find workers, then the minister needs to come and tell us why not. Is it because we have so many people on poor relief and they're happy with that they don't want to work? Is it a situation where we have so many of our people, young people, who went overseas to take advantage of better opportunities, so they're no longer available to work here? Is it a situation where people are just psychologically and socially discouraged? Because when you look at neighbors, our neighboring countries, and people are making way more money than people in St. Vincent and the Grenadines from doing the same work, then maybe people just say, well, you know, it doesn't even make sense. They're just discouraged.
Additionally, Bramble stated that he conducted his own unemployment survey in the East Kingstown constituency, and the results, he said, are startling and point to a much higher unemployment rate than the government acknowledges.
I did a survey in East Kingstown about 7 or 8 months ago, and I can tell you my survey revealed that in East Kingstown, the unemployment rate is close to 30%. And among young people, it's close to 60%, 6 out of 10. That is my own survey. Of course, you know, there are margins of errors and so on. But that gives you, in my opinion, that gives you a clearer picture of what is happening, a more accurate picture. And that is what they need to do. If you have the data and you did look, we have not done, the last poverty assessment was done around 2008. The last population census was done about 2008, 2012, somewhere thereabout. Yeah? If you don't have that kind of information, then it's very difficult for you to make any proper assessment of the situation in our country regarding unemployment, regarding poverty, and regarding other economic indicators which would be revealed from these surveys.
And Prime Minister Dr. Afghan Saabs responded to criticisms from opposition MP Dwight Fritz Bramble regarding the government's unemployment figures. Speaking on radio today, the Prime Minister said Bramble appears to be misguided in his assessment and emphasized that the data cited by Finance Minister Camilla Gonsalves is supported by official sources, both with the National Insurance Services, the NIS, and through the labor force survey conducted by the Central Statistical Office.
So Camilla made this presentation, and what has been the response from the NDP through Bramble, who really talks more than he understands? Says that Camilla is distorting the numbers, not speaking the truth about the employment figures and so on. And Camilla gave the numbers about the study which was done at the time. The data was compiled, I think, just around the time of COVID or just before COVID. And he also gave the proxy data from the NIS, the active employees, to see how many new persons have come on to the NIS role. Now, you can't deny the numbers. They exist. You can go and individually confirm them by the NIS.
He pointed to the most recent figures from the NIS, which show an increase of over 400 new employees when compared to the same period last year. According to the Prime Minister, this increase in employment supports the Finance Minister's claim that unemployment has dropped to below 10%.
First quarter 2024 was 46,856. But it's the end of first quarter 2025 is 48,528. Because it shows that in 2024, in the first quarter, 392 new employees were boarded, came on. And in the first quarter in 2025, new employees who came on were 468. Of course, there were some old employees who have now registered. But as you notice, in the first quarter last year, nearly 400 new employees went on. Not all employees were registering, because they have the data.
The Prime Minister also explained that the labor force survey was conducted in line with the International Unemployment Survey standards, leading credibility to the reported findings.
Camilo was making the point that the labor market survey, which was done a few years ago, on the basis of the accepted definition of unemployment, the unemployment rate was around 10.5. A study was done. That is to say, somebody is able to work, has the ability to work, is fit, is that person want to work, was looking for work, and couldn't find work. That's the definition of an unemployed person.
Prime Minister Dr. Afghan Sahs has expressed sorrow but not surprise over the tragic discovery of the bodies of possible West African migrants on the Grenadine island of Canouan. The Prime Minister emphasized that while the geographic distance between West Africa and the Caribbean might seem vast, it is not unprecedented for migrants from the African continent to reach the Caribbean shores, often with tragic outcomes.
Square miles or kilometers you're distant from Accra in Ghana to London. It doesn't matter what those square miles tell you or the kilometers tell you. The nautical miles or the kilometers tell you. You think that Ghana is a distant place, so remote, but the fact is, it's just across the Atlantic. And the closest point in the Caribbean to West Africa is Barbados. And we're just 100 miles from Barbados. So, bodies from Mali could be washed up in Canouan. Mali, which is a landlocked country in Africa. They get to they get on boats, whatever, however they want to migrate. And it's done, there's a desperation. And they end up in Grenada. At one time in St. Kitts, I've been advised. And now in Canouan, dead.
On Monday, May 26, 2025, at approximately 10:45 a.m., police officers on Canouan responded to a report and subsequently discovered a vessel and the bodies of 11 individuals on Little Bay, Cherry Hill. According to police reports, several Milanian passports were recovered from the vessel, suggesting the deceased were migrants from Mali, a landlocked country in West Africa currently grappling with political instability, economic hardship, and armed conflict. The Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force has launched an investigation and is collaborating with the regional and international law enforcement and law enforcement as well as immigration partners to trace the vessel's origin and better understand the circumstances of the voyage. Authorities are also working to identify the victims and notify their families. The incident highlights the ongoing humanitarian crisis involving transatlantic migration routes and the increasing risk taken by individuals fleeing dire conditions in their home countries. In an ongoing effort to tackle crime and bring perpetrators to justice, Deputy Commissioner of Police Frankie Joseph is reminding the public that witness protection measures are in place to safeguard individuals who come forward with information. Speaking at a police press briefing on Monday, Deputy Commissioner Joseph emphasized that witnesses should not be afraid of their identities being revealed. He assured the public that confidentiality is a top priority for law enforcement. Authorities noting that persons with information can come forward without fear.
With respect to witnesses, we have special programs in place to protect witnesses. There are times when people would say that, yes, they saw a crime committed, but they are not going to come forward to give the police information because they do not want to go to court. But I want to assure you that you do not have to go to court if you give us that information, because we have things in place to protect you, because we understand the nature of what is taking place out there. For instance, if you give us information and you believe that your life would be threatened or your family's life would be threatened, you can always give in your evidence from an undisclosed location, which means that you do not have to present yourself in court. So persons would not be able to identify you. We have that program in place. We also have the voice modulation. So when you are giving your testimony in court from your location, that we will distort your voice, the voice modulation, and also your facial distortion.
The Deputy Commissioner also acknowledged that concerns about confidentiality have at times discouraged public cooperation. However, he stressed that community involvement is crucial to solving crimes.
I want to take this opportunity to appeal to the citizens of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to continue to walk along with the police in terms of giving information. I would stress that you do not have to give me the information if you do not have the confidence in me. Give it to any police officer that you feel confident in. So if the person is a constable and you feel confident that when you give that information to the constable, that the constable is confidential, please give it to the officer.
The Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force has repeatedly appealed to the public to work closely with them, noting that community support is one of the key factors in solving serious crimes. This renewed call for cooperation comes in the wake of a significant development in a recent triple murder case. According to police, a breakthrough in the investigation was made possible due to valuable information provided by members of the public. Law enforcement officials continue to encourage residents to remain vigilant and to report suspicious activity, assuring them that their safety and privacy will be respected throughout the process. In other news, the finals of the National Science Quiz, sponsored by the St. Vincent and the Grenadine Teachers Cooperative Credit Union, SVG-TCCU Limited, were held today, celebrating excellence in science, education, and academic competition. The quiz aims to instill a strong grasp of scientific concepts while challenging both students and teachers. This was emphasized by Education Officer Juanita Hunt King, who delivered brief remarks during the event.
The science quiz started in 2019 and has grown and grown and grown over the last few years. I am very pleased with the progress that this event has been making. The objectives of the quiz are to serve as a platform for teachers to aim for mastery of concepts, to challenge students to strive for excellence, and to motivate research and inquiry. And I would like to say that on each of those counts, we have been successful. The target of the science quiz is all 27 schools. We recognize, though, that challenges do meet schools, and we had set our my personal target of 70% participation.
Also speaking at the event, Dennis Games, representative of Macmillan Education, expressed the organization's commitment to encouraging early engagement in science.
Form 2 is an early stage of scientific studies, so we are looking for our young students continuing in science, continuing to become more acquainted with the studies of physics, chemistry, and biology. We're hoping that next year we can also come back into the communities. Last year we were into the communities where we were able to have a first-hand contact with our students, teachers, and the schools. So on behalf of Macmillan and Games Work Center, Macmillan has been always proud and happy to partner with the Ministry of Education in publishing primary schools, secondary school, and tertiary education. So this morning I want to say how happy and pleased we are to be a part of this science quiz.
Melissa York-Nichols, marketing manager of the SVG-TCCU, highlighted the company's continued investment in youth development, noting that science plays a key role in shaping future leaders and innovators.
We are deeply committed to the development of our youth, not just as future leaders, but as innovators, creators, and change makers. That is why partnering with the Ministry of Education on this remarkable initiative was a natural fit for us. Science is more than a subject. It's a way of thinking, a tool for discovery, and a pathway to solving the challenges of tomorrow. And today, I am certain we will witness our students rise to the occasion with enthusiasm, brilliance, and bold ideas. We are proud of every participant. Our commitment to youth development is ongoing and multifaceted. Through our Junior Savers account, we help young people build healthy financial habits from early on. Our TCCU Youth Group provides a space for leadership, mentorship, and growth, encouraging young minds to think critically, engage socially, and prepare for the responsibilities of adulthood.
The final results of the National Science Quiz. Ministry of Education commended all participating schools for their dedication and enthusiasm. The competition is expected to return next year with even more schools and participants.